Here we are. We made it.
You didn't record that, did you?
We're doing a podcast.
We are doing a podcast.
Because Tom Ferry said so. Why else are we doing a podcast?
It's a great question.
Neither one of us are very interesting.
No, we're not very interesting. That's something I asked myself when you actually came up with the idea, or you approached me about doing this idea, and obviously I wanted to use some of this to kind of help me get out there and do some things.
Yes, it's about helping you. Yeah, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help Josh.
But it's a good idea, and it's a good platform, I think, for you and I both, because we have a fairly diverse kind of background in some of the things that we've been doing in life and some of the things we've been a part of, and we just want to be able to share some of those experiences. And we've seen a lot of success in our personal life and professional life, and I think you and I will both agree that we're both stupid.
Yes, yeah. There's no explanation for what we've been able to do.
No. So that's how we came up with the name, how stupid people succeed.
Yes,
as the name of the podcast. And and we're going to go about, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, a lot of different avenues in life. So obviously you and I are both Browns fans. So we're going to talk about the Browns. We're going to talk about things, church, food, life in general. So there's going to be a lot of different things that we've seen success in. We want to share some of those things.
Are we talking about watches?
We're probably going to talk about watches a little bit. You are the watch connoisseur. Maybe we can get Mr. Don Davis from the Diamond State.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Maybe he'd come up for it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been a year in the making.
Yeah.
Finally here.
Yep.
Which I'm excited about.
Yep.
Although it'd be great to have a year under our belt. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
So we finally got what we needed, and now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So what else?
I don't know.
What else are we going to talk about?
What else are we going to talk about?
Well, what do you want out of it? Ultimately, I think so. If I'm going to answer that question for you, which I will, because
Okay.
you'll probably be shy about it.
Thanks.
You've been a licensed real estate agent since 2015. You really started in 2016. You've had a lot of success there. Obviously, you've been my personal realtor. I've referred you to just a lot of people. Some I regret, some I'm pleased with. But I think there's a lot of people that are in our same shoes that have a lot of the same questions, and I don't see enough of a platform where people are talking about it. I see a lot of the social media being dominated by maybe a character or personality or something that shares information that's not really applicable, and that bothers me. I'm a very if you're talking to me or you're going to tell me to do something or you're going to share information with me, make it applicable to what's happening. I just can't tell you, hey, Josh, you want to grow your business, grind more. Hey, Josh, you want to buy a house, grind more. Hey, Josh, you want to buy a car, grind more. Hey, Josh, you want your credit score to get better, grind more. Hey, Josh, you want your marriage to be healthy, grind more. Sometimes the grind can be the most counterproductive thing to the success you want to have. Sometimes it's a lot different. I know in my personal life, I've had to learn a lot about the work balance. So I would say we both have this innate desire to be successful. Not just saying a job or a career success, but successful literally in every aspect of our life. It bothers both of us when there's a part of our life we don't feel like we're being successful in. We don't let ourselves off the hook and say, oh, well, we're doing great over here, so I can ignore that or have that weakness. And a lot of the people that we've been surrounded by or we surround ourselves with feel the exact same. And I know we are pretty intentional about getting very close to people, very intimate in where they're at and their goals, and being supportive of them emotionally and spiritually and all that. And I think that's a rarity for a lot of people. I think if there's any shortage that the world can benefit from, Gary Vee is going to talk about gratitude. I think most importantly, it's just a shortage of relationships, true relationships with people that actually care about you. And both of us have been through a lot in the history of our relationship where we know absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt we're going to care about each other first and always come from that perspective. And I think a lot of people don't have that. So what's been your reasoning or what's been your explanation, especially to your wife, to try to understand or explain our relationship?
Our relationship?
Yeah.
You and I?
Yeah.
Man. So you remember how we met, right?
Yes.
How? You remember?
Yeah, 100%.
Where?
The great West Meadows at Blue Fusion.
Yep.
We met there, and we were probably the only two guys in Marion, Ohio with an iPhone at the time, if that tells you how far back it goes.
Yes.
And we bumped. Which was in front of our wives. But that's a phone thing. So for all the young kids that have no idea what Bump is, Bump was this incredible app that everybody thought was really cool. But it was one of those things that you're on the outside looking in, or you're on the inside making fun of other people, or you're on the outside making fun of people. But you could basically take your phone and bump, and information would be shared. It was like a cloud sharing type app. So we were pumped that we both had iPhones.
So now I can just share contacts.
Now we can just share contacts and not
we can airdrop,
not bump.
Yeah. So that was so at that point you were doing some youth ministry stuff, and Amanda and I, my wife,
I was still JP Morganing at the time, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's been over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So faithful night on
good Lord.
It was close to New Year's Eve, because I know we were doing so that was our church's overnight kids event or youth event, and so that's definitely how we met. It's been a fun ride since then.
I think if there's one lesson to take away from the intro, it is you can never pre-assume the impact of something that's going to occur in the future. So I remember when Wes invited, he's like, "Oh yeah, there's this guy, Josh and his wife Amanda. I think you and Britt would really like him or whatever." And so he was in high school at the time, and so it was this youth thing that we're in our early mid-20s, and so for us showing up, it was going to be weird. And knowing you were a church guy too, most church guys are weird. I'm a church guy, so I pot's calling the kettle black kind of thing. But I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I literally didn't want to go. And there's all these times in my life where I had that feeling of, I didn't want to go, or I didn't want to do something, and I showed up. And there's a lot of power in just showing up. There's a lot of power in being open to, even if we can be so spiritual, what God has in store that you don't really recognize. And I have so many relationships like that, because if we flash back to then, Brittany and I had just moved back to Marion from Florida, and we had just all these great relationships down there. And so when we came back up here, we really struggled to have those tight-knit, close, share everything with friendships and relationships. And we were like frustrated about it. It was really frustrating for us, because we were there on a Friday night and literally, had no outlets of people to like hang out with or socialize with, or, just go have fun with. And you guys were definitely an answer to a prayer, in the sense of we were praying for friends like that, and we very easily could have missed it. I know this may shock you, but I'm not always prideful. There are times that I do express humility, and that's one of those things where, like, oh my gosh, I was so wrong about this situation, and here we are a decade later, 5 kids later, houses, cars, jobs later, literally traveled across the world together later, and our relationship has been great. And it's also great now to see our kids share that relationship, and it's a lot of fun to do that. And I know for me, I never had a brother. I have a lot of men in my life that I would consider a brother, but I never had a biological brother, and that was something that I always clung to, because my dad has 3 brothers, and I grew up watching their relationship, and they're all best friends. They're all A1 day one kind of guys, and so seeing that, I was like, I think it was something that I always wanted. And so now, and I'm going to leave somebody out, so I'm going to make somebody mad, but me, you, Tim, Mike, Jared, Nathan, all these guys that are like brothers to us, that literally our kids call uncle. And I love that, that because I showed up to Blue Fusion against my will, and my wife basically made me, that we're here, a decade later doing a podcast, hopefully trying to discover more about our 10-year journey and where we were from where we're at, because we're both doing very different things. We haven't been in the same career for 10 years. We both have very different outlooks on life. Our personalities are completely polar opposite, but for whatever reason, we connect over where we want to head in life. And that seems to be a common theme among a lot of the relationships that we're involved in.
So since this is our first podcast, why don't you tell our listeners, so if I say, who is Jeremy Nutt?
Yeah, time will tell. most people meet me and they don't like me. Most people meet Josh and they love Josh.
That's true. Very true.
I'm the kind of person you have to warm up to, I guess. Like I think the way I come off or the way that I present myself, which I'm always trying to evolve that or change that or be receptive of that, is not necessarily what's reflected at the core of who I am. So a lot of people that know me from a surface level, they may have a different opinion than people that truly know me and truly know how much relationships and people close to me matter and the actions that follow suit with that. And then also I'm a little bit aggressive. Like if I want something, I'm going to do everything in my power to accomplish it, which I also think is a big part of what we want to discover is, I want to go to work and feel successful. I want to come home and feel successful. I want to interact with my wife and feel successful. I want to look at my relationship with my children and feel successful. So this isn't about, this is, we're so great and we've made it. No, this is literally us feeling like we've been walking through mud our entire lives and we're trying to figure it out. And so there's some really cool things that have happened along the way. And both of us, I think, we're always wanting more and we're always working towards more. But when we reflect over where we're at, I think both of us and a lot of people that look at our lives are extremely surprised by where we're at and what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. It's true. So for myself, first thing that I am, if anyone asks, so who is Josh Cooper? I am, first and foremost, I'm a father and I'm a son. That's the number one thing on my list. That's the one thing I want to do well right in life. And so, everything is centered around.
And Amanda, you're a close third.
Yeah, no, well,
a husband's in there. I'm gonna help.
Well, me being a good father and a good son is definitely follows suit, and that helps me be hopefully a great husband. So it's a given.
It is a given.
Okay, that's absolutely a given. You could ask her the same. So those four people are, so my wife Amanda and we have 3 kids. Those 4 are definitely the center of my life. So everything that I do revolves around, that being successful and that innate desire to see the success and see my family grow spiritually, financially, in every aspect of life. So that's really what I want, and that's kind of everything I do is kind of geared towards that. Obviously, I like having fun along the way. I like meeting people. I love relationships. I love chatting with people. Yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. You got anything else for our first podcast?
I was gonna say, how's growing up in Portsmouth?
Growing up in Portsmouth,
what you'll learn.
This
Josh
needs to be a whole new
literally
podcast.
A Christmas miracle. Yeah, that's a whole.
Yeah, this is a whole other podcast. Growing up in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So, how much time do we have here?
We have no time. We're out of time. Probably run over.
How about we do a new podcast on that?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Josh in Portsmouth.
And growing up in Portsmouth, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So if hopefully there's something that sticks out to you, like it, share it, tag somebody in it, and we'll hopefully be bringing some cool guests and some cool things to talk about.